Deep in the heart of the Pacific Ocean lies a tiny archipelago known as Tonga. It's a beautiful paradise that consists of 169 islands. But while it may seem like the perfect tropical getaway, life there isn't always easy. Back in 1965, 6 Tongan teenagers were growing sick and tired of life on their island. After being expelled from school, they decided to run away from home. On April 19th, they stole a fishing boat called the MV Casamora and set sail for Fiji or New Zealand. But fate had other plans for them. The MV Casamora was a sturdy vessel that had been built in 1937. It was almost 40 feet long and had traveled all over the world. But unfortunately, the hull was in pretty bad shape after years of wear and tear. This meant that when a violent storm struck the vessel, the MV Casamora began to fall apart. The 6 teenagers found themselves stranded on an uninhabited island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Luckily, the island wasn't completely deserted. There were plenty of wild animals that lived there, but unfortunately, they weren't very tasty. And so the boys soon found themselves in a desperate situation. Luckily, they had brought a knife and some fish hooks with them on the boat, so catching fish quickly became their primary source of food. But what did they use for shelter? Thankfully, there were plenty of palm trees on the island. These palm trees are typically found in warmer climates and can grow up to 180 feet tall. The boys used the fronds of the palm tree to build a simple hut that would protect them from the harsh weather conditions on the island. What kind of weather conditions, you might ask? Well, the island is located in the Pacific Ocean, meaning that the boys had to contend with not only rain, but also incredibly strong winds and huge waves. One of the biggest challenges the boys faced was staying warm. You see, the average temperature on the island during the winter months is about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. But at night, temperatures can plummet all the way down to 57 degrees. So it was important for the boys to build a shelter that would keep them warm. When they first arrived on the island, they had no idea how to build a hut. But thankfully, they had brought a knife with them on the boat. Using the knife, they were able to cut down small trees and shrubs that they used to construct a basic hut. The hut wasn't much to look at, but it did the job, kept them out of the rain, and protected them from the strong winds. And most importantly, it gave them a place to sleep at night. As the days went by, the boys grew accustomed to their new way of life. They learned how to forage for food and how to find fresh water to drink. They also learned how to fish using the knife they had brought with them. They didn't have any modern fishing gear, but they didn't need it. The boys were able to catch enough fish to keep themselves well fed. The boys had left Tonga with nothing but the clothes on their backs. But somehow, they managed to survive for 15 whole months on a desert island. How did they do it? Well, part of it was definitely their youth. After all, they were teenagers when they left Tonga, and likely had more energy than the average person. Additionally, they were blessed with having a decent amount of rainfall. If it had been a dry season, things would have been much more difficult for them. As it was, they were able to stay hydrated thanks to the streams and rivers on the island. For food, the boys subsisted mainly on fish, but they also foraged for other items. The island where they were shipwrecked is called Ata. It's a beautiful place with white sand beaches and crystal clear waters. But it's also home to some dangerous creatures. Despite the danger, the boys were able to find plenty of food on the island. They ate fish, coconuts, bananas, and papaya. They also drank the sap of the coconut palm, which is said to be extremely refreshing. There was also a cave on the island where the boys could store their food. This was important because it kept their food safe from the pigs that also lived on the island. The pigs were descendants of wild boars that had been brought to the island by sailors many years ago. They were large and aggressive, and the boys knew better than to approach them. Life on the island wasn't all bad, though. The boys had plenty of time to explore, and they soon discovered that the island was home to a variety of amazing plants and animals. They saw flying foxes, which are large bats with a wingspan of up to 6 feet. They also saw green sea turtles and humpback whales. The boys spent hours swimming in the ocean and exploring the coral reefs. They also climbed the tall palm trees and swung on the vines. For them, life on the island became something of an adventure. But how did the boys manage to survive for 15 months without being rescued? Well, part of it was because they kept a fire burning. This may seem like a simple thing, but it was actually crucial to their survival. The fire gave the boys a sense of hope that someone would come looking for them. It also kept them warm at night and helped drive away the dangerous animals. Most importantly, though, the fire was a signal. A ship passing by would be sure to spot it and hopefully offer the boys water and food. But even with the fire going, it was still difficult for the boys to be seen. After all, the island is very small and ships tend to travel between islands rather than around them. It wasn't until Australian adventurer Peter Warner sailed into the area that the boys were finally spotted. Warner was an experienced sailor who had been traveling around the Pacific Ocean for many years. He had heard rumors of the MV Casanova and its 6 teenage passengers, and so when he saw the signal fire on the island, he decided to investigate. When Warner first approached the island, he thought he was going crazy. He couldn't believe what he was seeing. There were 6 boys standing on the beach waving frantically and shouting for help. Warner dropped anchor and rowed ashore. When he saw the boys, he couldn't believe his eyes. They were dirty and unkempt, but they were alive. The boys told Warner that they had been on the island for many months and were starting to lose hope that they would ever be rescued. But Warner was determined to help them. He gave them water and food and then helped them get back on his boat. The boys were so grateful to Warner, they'd given up hope that they would ever be rescued. But here was this stranger who had come to save them. And how exactly did Peter Warner help the boys? Well, the first thing he did was take them off the island and give them food and water. The boys were severely malnourished, but luckily they were able to recover. Once they were healthy enough, Warner took them back to Tonga. The boys were reunited with their families and friends. And what happened to Peter Warner? Well, he continued to sail around the world. He died in 1981 after being hit by a bus in Thailand, but his legacy lives on. To this day, he's remembered as the man who saved 6 boys from a desert island. Alright, now it's time for you to make your voice heard. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think.
Thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed the video, be sure to follow for more content. I've been your host, and I'll see you next time.